All right, this is the first time I think we've gotten together since the game. So, I think certainly said this after the game, but very thankful for the strong showing, for our community to come out, in particular on a Wednesday night. I thought it was a terrific atmosphere, 4,000 students at the game, and we're extremely thankful for that. We want to continue that. We want to build that, and I think, what a terrific opportunity for our football team. Very competitive game, evenly matched teams, to go toe-to-toe with a top 25 team like that in our backyard was really good, certainly in the second year. And the game came down to a lot of special situations and the poise to execute in those situations. Certainly, for us, we can coach better. In particular on offense, I think I can do a better job and position our players better. And then we got a handful of players that can play better. But you can't help but be pleased and sense the progress that we're making on defense. And certainly on special teams, outside of our place kicker field goal woes, we have had a terrific year so far. We continue to play really well. Certainly you guys saw that Rhys Burns was the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Week and well-deserving. We played App State basically made them play on a long field throughout the entire day. And we were able to play on a short field and didn't capitalize on that. But, we left the 4th and 1, 4th and goal, 7-point opportunity out there, and certainly a 3-point field goal there early in the second half. So 10 points left out there and, didn't execute or play with any type of consistency on offense throughout the day. So, it's time to hit the reset button. You got to flush it. You got to move forward. And that's what we've done. We're on to Arkansas State. And obviously this is a terrific, historic game. These teams have tremendous history. And anytime you go up there, it can be difficult. They've got a strong following. This is a divisional game, so it has, double implications to some degree. And it's on the road. So it's very, very important, and I think our kids sense that. We've done a good job. I've been pleased with how we practiced. Certainly yesterday I thought was a really quality practice. But it's very evident when you have time to reflect that we're building something really special here, and we got lots of young players that continue to make an impact. So it's on to Arkansas State. You guys know this team. They've had a little bit of an injury bug on defense, but they've got some of the better players in the entire league on that side of the ball, and certainly offensively as explosive as anybody. They got the best receiver in the country in total yards and touchdowns. And regardless of what happened to them at quarterback, they continue to move the ball, create yards and create points. So great team speed, and certainly that always shows up on special teams, and well coached. Coach Anderson has extensive success there, been very stable there in what they've accomplished, a number of conference championship games, and they continue to be very competitive. So be a great challenge, and we're going to need to prepare at it and be at our best and play our best football game of the year.
How pivotal was that game last season for you guys?
Yeah. In particular, to play right after the App State, game where there was a comparison and where we were at prior to that. So I think the first App game, gave us a little bit of conviction about the work we'd been doing. And then to find a way in a back-and-forth game, I think it showed a lot of the mental toughness and maybe the intangible things that we'd been working really hard on. So I do think it was a big game. Certainly last year they were picked to win the league and win the West, and to have them in our place was a big deal. So, but that as much as we love to talk about that, that's not going to impact the game Thursday night.
Obviously, you've got to try to contain Omar Bayless, who's got the most touchdowns in the country right now. What can you do to kind of maintain that?
Yeah, well, Omar, I think you're spot on there. Omar's a terrific talent, and I think that the quarterback that's playing for him has done a nice job of giving him catchable balls. They do a good job of designing concepts and giving him opportunities, a lot of run-pass options, and certainly a lot of well-designed passes and screens where he gets the ball. So he's a terrific weapon in the red zone down inside in that area of the field. So you got to, when you do play one-on-one, you got to hold up. And then certainly anytime you're doubling them, maybe somebody else is on one-on-one scenario or you're a gap short in the running game. So they do a good job. Certainly they've moved the ball and scored on a consistent basis so far, and it starts with him.
Is there anything they do differently without Bonner, the quarterback?
No, they're pretty systematic. I think, the young man that's playing for him now is a very accomplished guy. He originally was committed to him, ended up taking a preferred walk-on opportunity at Alabama and then transferring back. Pulaski Academy, he's a winner. He's a tough, savvy competitor. It really has thrown the ball extremely well, very accurate, makes good decisions. So, even since he's played, they played well on offense.
Last week, at least a lot of us thought it was going to be a little more high scoring than it turned out to be. They had given up more points than they normally do. And
Sure.
They played great defense against y'all. So is there something you see on film with Arkansas State that maybe they're a little better defensively than their scores have?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've had a little bit of an injury bug. Some of their most explosive impact type of players maybe have been out. I think they expect to have some of those guys back. And certainly we're going to prepare as if we've got to play against their best group, injuries are tough, and certainly they've had their handful of those, and that's part of the game. We've had ours too, ours have happened to be on offense. So, I think that's the biggest thing is you can see where they're maybe having to play some inexperienced guys. But they putting it together at critical times and stayed in the game as well.
After watching film from last week, what's the thing you would change the most, or where was the biggest difficulty that maybe you didn't know until you watched the film?
Yeah, I think I pride myself on giving the players the answers. Always being able to say, we gave our players an opportunity. We had the pieces of the puzzle in the right spots. We had the answer for this pressure, the answer for this look, and more plays than usual. I've got to look myself in the mirror. And I think that's always tough as a coach. And I think we did that on defense. I think we did that on special teams, and I think we've done that this season so far. There were a handful of games last year where maybe I felt like we could have done a better job coaching, but. There are also lots of plays where we're in a good play and we don't execute. I think it comes down to some of those things that we talked about going into the game. Poise in a big-time atmosphere and game like that, I think, was important, and I don't know that sometimes we had that, And some of our youth showed up, some of the players that maybe were out there in that type of setting for the first time, that showed up. We played 29 guys that were in their first or second year in the program. So, as much as, we wanted it, hey, I wanted to win too, and I felt like there was a great opportunity there to capitalize on where we were at. Maybe we weren't quite ready for that moment yet. So we're still building and still very much a work in progress. But, that's probably the thing that as a coach, those 6, 8, 10 plays where maybe you can help them a little bit more than you did.
As a coach, is it worrisome playing two really significant games? I know coach say all games are significant.
Yeah.
Back to back like this, or is that
Sure.
Is that not a big deal?
Well, I would argue that we played. This will be our 4th big game in a row. When you start thinking about the history and tradition and the success of the opponents that we played, you start thinking about Ohio. Georgia Southern, 9-win team, 10-win team. Certainly Appalachian State picked to win our league this year, picked to win the East, won the conference last year, got a veteran team coming back. So we played 3 big games in a row here already, and certainly this one is as bigger than any of those. So this is a Western Division game. I think there's tons of implications relative to the big picture. And, you know, we typically spend a day celebrating or reflecting on the game. We quality control it with the team the next day, and then, you know, after that, we turn the page. So we're on to Arkansas State, and that's where our attention's been since then.
How important to take advantage of it when you do have somebody who can flip the field like
Yeah. Well, it affected some of the decisions we made late in the game. You know, there was a handful of those in that game where we may have went for it in other games we played in, you know. But because of the way our defense was playing and the way that Rhys was performing and the coverage unit in particular on punt was playing, we chose to punt the ball. So, you know, I think you got to play. There's a little bit of that in-game decision-making that goes with that. And I think we made the right decisions, and certainly Rhys has been a great weapon. You know, we've been fortunate we hadn't had to use him much, you know, this year. But he was at his best when we need him the most, and I think he's that type of competitor and player and teammate.
What do you do with the local kicking situation?
Well, I tell you, I've been very pleased with Stevie here as of late. You know, since we've got back out on the field, he has really had some of his better days. He's been lights out. I think the snapper and the holder are getting better too. That's got a lot to do with it. But he has hit the ball well, and we're going to let him be the place kicker this week against Arkansas State. And Kenny will just handle the kickoffs. And, you know, the old quote that we use sometimes, you know, life is designed where you don't necessarily get what you want or get what you need. You know, life is really designed, you get what you deserve. And we've kind of been using that, promoting and demoting on our team. Stevie's been no different, but here as of late, he's hit it really well, and he deserves that opportunity this week.
From your experiences, how much does a rivalry maybe add to implications in a game like this as well?
Well, I think it's a big deal because it's a Western Division road game. You know, I mean, there's certainly history here, you know. And I think that our players are very aware of that, if that makes sense. So, in particular, the veteran players have done a good job of kind of getting our young players up to speed. But, you know, with this divisional format, conference championship game format, you know, when you play one of these games against an opponent in the West, you know, there's twice as many implications relative to tiebreakers and all that. We know that from last year's experience. So we need to play our best football game of the year. And continue to develop young players, continue to make improvements and develop plans for improvement in certain areas where we haven't played as well at times.
Coach, what are going to be some keys for you guys specifically on offense going against that defense?
Well, you got to take care of the ball. You know, I mean, when they've won, they've created takeaways, and in particular, they've scored on defense. So they have the ability to create negatives. They've got explosive players, speed in the back end. They can create takeaways. We're going to have to take care of the ball, you know, and try not to put these explosive playmakers that they have on offense on a short field. We need to make them earn it, and certainly it always starts with that. But this week in particular, I think that's really important.
How much of a stressor on the defense when you add in Bam as another element that they have to
Sure.
be on guard for? And how much of what he did the other night was just kind of game plan, and how much of it was him kind of just finally
Yeah. Well, I thought it was great that Bam had some production. You know, if anybody deserves it, he deserves it. You know, he's a terrific teammate. You know, the guy's one of the best practice players that we have. Certainly one of the better people that we have. You know, I mean, I think he's a terrific young man. Certainly he's going to have success whatever he picks to do, whether that's continue to play football or just find something to go do in society. He'll be successful. But, you know, it was great to see him have production. We always design stuff for him, but the ball went his way a little bit more the other night. I thought that was a good thing, especially with Jamarcus getting injured, you know, and having him out. You know, I thought it was great that he stepped up there and the ball went his way.
And what is Jamarcus' status? Has he been practicing?
He's been day-to-day, but we do anticipate having him 100% for the game. So he's been participating a little bit modified in what he's done. Certainly he's played a ton of ball around here, so we've been pretty careful. But he'll participate in today's practice full speed and tomorrow's practice full speed.
What's, as far as what you had to do really well to keep Appalachian State's offense kind of at bay, what is it? Is it different things that you need to do really well against this offense to keep them down a little?
You know, there's a handful of things that you always got to do on defense each and every week. I think you always got to communicate. You know, I think that's been a big point of emphasis for us. You know, we're multiple on defense. We've got several scenarios where we got inside backers, front people, safeties, across the board at all three levels. Great communication has been really important. That's an area where we've improved. We put a huge premium and emphasis on it last week, and I thought it really helped us play better. But fundamentally is an area where we've made drastic improvement. And I think at all three levels of the defense, you're seeing us start to improve. We're striking blockers better, having better gap integrity in the front, playing better on the edges. I think our linebackers have really stepped up from a fundamental standpoint. We tackle better, and we're covering better. You know, we defended the pass really well, and we've got off the field on third down really well. And overall, it's team defense at all three levels. You know, and I think we got to continue that. But you know, I think that we're just getting started. I think there's a whole new level out there for us, and this has been the expectation since we got here, and you're starting to see it emerge as we go forward here.
With the receiver you were talking about, is it? I mean, it's about both, I know, but is it kind of more about tackling with him than covering?
I think it's a little bit of both. You know, certainly you want to keep him in front of you, but then when he does get it, you got to get him on the ground. You know, he's a threat to do a lot of different things. He's also a really good special teams player. You know, this guy's going to play on Sundays, and he's a big, long, tall. He's got terrific play speed for his size, and the big thing is the catch radius. He catches all the non-traditional catches. He catches the 50-50 ball. It's probably more 80-20 ball with him, you know. So I think he's a terrific player, and I think he's one of the better receivers, you know, in the country.
So does one cornerback follow him, or how do y'all typically do that when you kind of target a clear-cut number one
Yeah,
receiver?
That's a great question. We play, I think, what time we kick off? About 7 o'clock, something like that. 6:30.
Along those same lines, how do you, they've got a guy in Kirk Merritt on the other side.
Yeah.
Who's just as explosive and maybe hasn't caught the attention. How do you balance those two?
Yeah, I think it's one of the reasons that Omar's had a heck of a year is because Kirk's over there. They don't just have two now. They got about 5 or 6. I mean, I remember in pregame, I was watching those guys. I about fainted last year in pregame watching these skill players they got. So they've got terrific weapons, and certainly that's been, you know, one of the reasons they've been successful. They've had tremendous success there for a long time, you know, and they're committed to doing it the right way, and we've got tons of respect for them. So with that being said, 6:30 kick, right? We appreciate all y'all being here today and covering our team.